Today marks the 1 year anniversary when I completed my first ayahuasca retreat, and this was a moment that changed my life forever. My name is Berto, and I decided to create this channel because I bet there's a lot of people like me who felt stuck in their life and felt like there was something more to them, another gear to hit. So I want to talk about the things that changed my life. And one of those things, perhaps the most profound experience I had, was when I went on my first ayahuasca retreat. Now, the reason I decided to take this retreat actually begins back in 2018. Now, in 2018, I was living in LA and I saw this thought leader I was following, Gerard Adams. He was having a meetup. So I was like, wow, he's having a meetup and it's right there by my apartment in LA. This must be something, right? So I go to the hotel and I never been to a meetup before, and I thought it was just going to be him talking, but it was just a bunch of people, his followers, gathered around in a hotel lobby, and pretty much the whole time he was talking about his experience with ayahuasca, which I had never heard before, and everything he was saying about the way it changed him was absolutely incredible. I was so excited to try it until he mentioned something about his grandma. He said that his grandma was actually the person that raised him, and during his ayahuasca retreat, he had connected with his grandma. And she told him that he needed to let her go, and she embraced him, and he was just crying profusely. And that really stuck out to me because it made me think about what would happen if I was to meet my mom during a similar experience. So this was 2018. My mom passed in 2013, but I was like, ah, even though it was 5 years, I don't know how I would be able to react if I saw my mom in that type of setting, you know? So I postponed into ayahuasca. I was like, you know what? I don't think I'm ready for this. But here's the funny thing about that. They say you don't call ayahuasca, ayahuasca calls you. So fast forward, I moved to Puerto Rico. It just kept coming in my presence, right? I kept meeting people, and not people that I would think have done ayahuasca. They weren't all hippies, although a good portion of them were, but they were successful business people. There were people that I remember I was dating this girl and she had a stomach issue. She couldn't even hold down rice. She told me how ayahuasca cured her. Another person who barely had enough money to go to the ayahuasca retreat, and afterwards he became this successful business person. So I've never heard anyone say anything negative about ayahuasca, but I was still hesitant. Like, it was in the back of my mind. I know I wanted to do it, but I didn't have a set date. Well, fast forward to 2023. I'm at a point in my life, I'm just not getting any younger. And I felt stuck. I just had about enough. I was like, why is it that I'm good looking, I'm smart, I'm hardworking, I have all these skills, and I'm not where I want to be? I just felt frustrated. I felt stuck. Something's got to give. And, Tony Robbins says this a lot, and you might hear me quote him a lot because he also had a significant impact on my life. He says, you know, we change when the pain is greater than the comfort, or something to that extent. And that's what it was. I just got tired. I was like, there's more to me. I'm tired of being stuck. I'm going to conquer my fear. I'm going to do it. Okay. So this was in February of 2023. And it just so happened that, I wanted to live in Colombia for a couple of months. The cost of living is a lot cheaper there. I wanted to prepare for the bull market, the crypto bull market. And also, I was going to be going to a bachelor party. So everything kind of aligned. At first, I knew I didn't want to do ayahuasca here in Puerto Rico. I didn't want to do it where it's comfortable. I said, if I'm going to do this, I want to do it super official. I want to do it with an Indian. I want the feathers and everything, right? So Peru is super expensive. That's why I ended up going with Colombia. I did a lot of research, make sure that the retreat I was going to was super legit and super authentic at the same time. Had no idea what I was getting into. I had no idea what I was getting into. I go there. It was a 7-day retreat. It's going to be 4 ceremonies because everybody I talked to said that you want to, for the first time, do at least 3 ceremonies, and which I thought was interesting because, I heard most people said they did ayahuasca one time and it was like this life changing. But after this one person, he's the one that became like some successful business person, millionaire, and he barely had enough money to go ayahuasca. He said, yeah, you want to do it 3 times? Because he said, there's different experiences. One could be, you might not experience anything. I met some people like that, which is crazy to me. Another one could be like a very beautiful, loving experience. One could be very difficult. So you just never know what you're going to get. So the recommendation is 3 or 4. And I did that, and I'm so glad I did. So the minute I get there, this was now about an hour and a half away from Medellin. Shout out to La Guara, they're amazing. And I think it was the first day, we all kind of set intentions, right? What did we want to get? And it's interesting because a lot of people do ayahuasca as a last resort. I was no different, but their last resort, a lot of people are like suicidal. They went through really, dark things like abuse sexually, rape, PTSD, war vets, things like that. And me, I just wanted to to live my highest self. And I'll get back to more of that in a second. So my intention though, because it was 4 days, I said, you know what? I want confidence. One intention. I want clarity. Get a clear, map of what I want to do and be and all that. I want creativity, right? And then the last day I was going to use for my health. I want, to have good health, right? Makes sense. But something happened. But by the way, so when I was telling people, because you get in a circle, everybody tells them out. I was like, you know what? I'm frustrated. I wanted to be a billionaire. I want to make all this money. I want all this success. I da 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 da. And I didn't realize it at the time, but I was coming across as really shallow. And people would see the transformation after a week, but. Because all in my head is like, I want to be successful. I want to be successful. I know I got it in me. I know I got it in me. And right before I go to take my first cup of ayahuasca, which you get 1 cup, everybody gets 1 cup. About an hour and a half, they'll offer you a second. And then the third cup, which is the maximum, is only by request. So I was like, I'll probably ease myself in there, take 1 cup, see how it goes. Maybe second, third ceremony, I'll take 2, or I wasn't planning to take 3. I thought, that might be a little much. So anyway, I take 1 cup, but something came to me. Something, remember how I told you I was planning to do clarity, confidence, all that, but something said, ask to be your highest self. I don't know what it was. Intuition, the Holy Spirit said, be your highest self. And the interesting part about ayahuasca, it's almost like it just knows you're coming. Like the minute you step on that plane, the minute you get to the retreat, that's when the journey begins, not when you take that first cup. So anyway, I take my first cup. I'm just laying there because the first part, you just kind of lay in these mattresses, relax, meditate or whatnot. I didn't feel anything. There were some people puking pretty much right away, but I didn't feel anything. I was like, oh man, all those thoughts start going here. I was like, oh, maybe this doesn't work. Maybe this is, some commercial. That was the only thing I was worried about this place. It looked a little commercial because they had a strong online presence and stuff. I was like, oh, maybe this medicine's weak, whatever. Anyway, but at the same time, I was relieved because I was a little scared, because I heard all these crazy stories about ayahuasca and the ego death and the visions and snakes coming out of your mouth. And I heard some weird stuff. I was like, okay, so far so good. I'll take a second cup. In that second cup, now this got a little interesting. Started seeing visions. I remember I told you that the intention was my highest self. And I would see like these red lines. My eyes are closed. And all of a sudden, like these red lines started forming a face, and it was my face in different magazine covers. And the ayahuasca said to me, like not an actual voice, but kind of like a download, like I don't know, like a premonition or something. And it said, if you want to go deeper, drink another cup. So I was like, okay. And I remember what this one person told me. He was like, sometimes there's beautiful experiences. I was like, oh, Mother Aya, she's easing me in. I must have got one of the good trips, right? So I was like, all right, cool. This is fun. This is pretty awesome. I've done mushrooms before. Everything's good, right? And then all of a sudden, I see like this little dot, like flash, in front of my eyes. But my eyes are closed, but it could leak through my eyelids. And I open my eyes and I see somebody running to the bathroom. Okay? Don't know who it is. And I look to my right, and the lady sitting beside me, she's like cooped up like this with her blanket over her head, and she like looks like the Virgin Mary. I look to my right and she's crying, and as she's crying, looking like the Virgin Mary, her face just starts melting. I'm like, oh! I look, and then I look around and see if there's anybody else whose face is melting. Nothing. And so I thought, okay, maybe it's dark out or whatever. So I look again, and her face is still melting. I'm like, oh my god. I was like, okay, I need to go to the bathroom. Now the whole night I was going to the bathroom on my left. And this is what's cool about ayahuasca. Your senses are just so heightened. You're so conscious, spiritually conscious. And it's such an intuitive medicine. It goes, like, again, it's a download. It's not a voice. When I said it says something or whatever, it's not a voice. I'm not hearing voice. Not yet, at least. Said, why don't you go to the bathroom on the right? So, cool. Go to the bathroom on the right. All of a sudden, a person comes out of the bathroom, and it's almost like those movies where you see somebody go shining, and it was the taita. The taita, you could think of it as a shaman. That's what the Colombians call their shamans, but it's a little different. It's a little different because they're native. You have to be born a taita. You have to be of indigenous blood. I can't be a taita. You can't be a taita unless somebody's watching this from Amazon. But I go to him, my autograph. I'm like, it just so happens he was that shining light. By the way, if you're not keeping up, so I go look, and I'm talking to him in Spanish, and my Spanish is not that good sober, let alone on ayahuasca. I'm like, yo, la ayahuasca me dijo que coge otra copa, and I'm telling him that the ayahuasca told me to take another cup, but then I open my eyes and I see this lady's face melting. And I was like, I don't know what to do. And he's just very, very calm, and he's kind of got a grin on his face. He's like, well, in his calm voice, he's like, in Spanish, he's like, well, you don't have to take another cup. You could take a half a cup. But he tells me as he touches my heart, he goes, but remember, the temple is within you, or Jesus is within you. And he touched my heart. And that was a very profound moment, because up to that time, I didn't know the Taitas were Christian, right? I just, they're spiritual. I never heard of Christian Taitas or Christian shamans. Later on, I'll find out there's quite a few, but there was something very comforting about that. It almost felt like my grandfather was like, and I was like, okay, well, I feel bad or I feel good because the other part of it, you have this religious, indoctrination. I don't know if that's the right word, but I have a religious background. You see people doing, like, they're talking in their native to they're doing all this Indian stuff, and I'm, and you're thinking to your head, oh God, did I make a mistake? Like, am I doing demonic stuff or whatever? So for him to say that was just very comforting for me. So then I go back, I lay in my mattress, and I'm contemplating, okay, should I take a third cup? Should I take a half a cup? Should I just chill? Am I good? Or whatever. And again, the medicine's so intuitive. It goes, Berto, I'm not hearing voices, it's the download. It goes, Berto, you do this all the time. You're always worried about the future. You're never in the present. Just surrender. And as I did, that little light again, I see it on the corner of my right eye. I remember before it was like just like it. And then I open my eyes and I look to my right, and it's the Taita, and he's serving the cups. And then I see this lady who was scared to even take a half a cup. She's going to take a third cup. So I'm like, oh, this little skinny lady from the UK who was scared to take a half a cup is going. I'm like, okay, I'm going up. Here's the thing. Those Titans are very, very in tune too. They take the medicine with you, and they have all these special powers. He didn't give me an option. He didn't say, "Hey, do you want a half cup?" No, he just poured a third one. Took it back, go lay in my mattress, and this is where it got interesting. So I started seeing a vision again. This time, the vision was of I think she was 4 or 5 at the time, my 5-year-old niece, or 5-year-old niece. I see this picture of her, and I got kind of like this download, like she's like a portal, like there's something special. She's like a chosen one, right? And then as I thought of my niece, it led me to think of my brother because that's his child, and I just felt all this love for my brother. Like I had this huge appreciation for my brother like I've never had. I mean, I love my brother. Everybody loves their, but I'm talking about love my brother. Like, oh my God, how blessed, how lucky, how much do I love this guy? And then all of a sudden, whoosh, like he was ripped from my heart. I got this feeling like he was going to die. And that was very, very scary. And I started crying. And um that was tough. And then it was weird because I got this then feeling that I was going to die, and I needed to tell him. So how is it possible that he's going to die, and then I was going to tell him that I'm going to die? And then I just got these weird messages, contradicting messages. And then, I always felt like I was put on this earth to be a voice. And I think I've shown glimpses of that before, but I was never consistent. And I think there was a fear that, oh, if I speak out, I'm going to end up dead or in jail because, we've seen people like Jesus, Martin Luther King, Mandela, Andrew Tate. I don't like grouping Andrew Tate there, but typically people that speak out somehow, some way, end up in not so great places, right? So there was a part of me that, was afraid, right? So as I got that message of being scared to die, I probably got the most important message because right after that, I had this feeling that I was going to die. The ayahuasca said, download, said, you don't have to accept that. Not even Jesus had to die on the cross for us. He was given a choice. And that's what I realized. The ayahuasca said, life is like a video game. We get to choose what character we play. And then I just shouted out, I was like, I cracked the code. No, you're not supposed to do this. We're in a retreat, probably about 20, 30 people. I'm like, I cracked the code. We are creators. And that's the thing, when you're on ayahuasca, there's this sense of knowing. You just know. I've never felt anything more true. Anyway, carry on. There's this woman who I connected with earlier. She's there was this sense about her. She kind of had this vibration of my mom almost. She was about my age, maybe late 30s, maybe 40, probably like 30. I don't know. I don't remember, 36, 38, 40. And she was telling me about her experience. She lost her mom when she was 21. And I see her on the mat, and she's kind of like, like convulsing. Like, I don't know if she's crying or in pain or whatever. And then all of a sudden, like, I could feel her energy. I could like feel what she's going through. And it reminded me of my sister, because my sister, we lost when my mom passed away. My sister was 19. So there was a lot of things that this woman shared with me that reminded me of my sister. And I could feel my sister's pain, like things that she went through. And then I don't remember if it was that or something else, because I kind of like blacked out for a split second. But I just remember all of a sudden I got this rush of emotions, like that I couldn't withhold. And it just felt like I was going to explode, like literally, like physically explode. Like I was like, and then all of a sudden, like the most intense vomit. Like I don't know if I couldn't process it. Like I was going to die because it would be too possible to hold this emotion. But all of a sudden it felt like my brain was going to explode, but instead I just did the most violent vomit ever. Oh man. But after that, I was so relieved. But again, I don't know if it happened before what I'm about to tell you or after, but I kind of went through kind of a sequence with all my family. I also felt my dad's pain. It's crazy. When I'm talking about feel my dad's pain, like it's almost like I went to his body, like I was him, and I could see things from his perspective. Same thing happened with my ex at the time, who I thought I was gonna go in there and ayahuasca was gonna tell me, hey, buddy, you need to move on. But instead, it showed me the beauty in her, how she thought, why we fought, why she wanted the best for me, why I took it the wrong way. Like all this knowledge, like I got into these people. Like I was my sister, I was my ex, I was my dad. And then I told you I was planning to move to Colombia, and the ayahuasca showed me the guilt, the sadness I will feel if something happened to him. My dad's 86, can't really take care of himself, and a lot of things he does, it's because hurt people, and people don't always know how to communicate and deal with their emotions. And I just had this understanding and compassion for him, and I was like, I can't move. I can't move to Colombia. I can't because I felt what it was like, how I would feel if I was to leave him and something happened. So I had that moment with my dad, and then finally, and it was almost like I had forgotten her. And then she just popped in my head, and it was my mom. And I was like, Mom! Like, oh my God. I just, I love you so much. I love you so. Like, I was just crying. I'd never cried so much in my life. I never vomited so much in my life. I probably never crapped so much in my life either, but have had some crappy days, so I don't know about that one. But definitely never had the type of violent. Now, prior to that vomit, I hadn't vomited in what, 20 years, 25. I'm being dead serious. I'm not talking about I'm talking about at least 20 years. And I just remember this love, this gratitude. Like I had so much love for my family. I wanted to start a family. I learned that the most important thing was family. And that's why my mom always stressed two things: love, family. Those were even her passwords to her computer, for online, everything, her email. And there was just this sense of love. And I remember shouting out to the entire retreat. Now, everybody's kind of doing this thing. I was like, no matter what your family did, no matter what your parents did to you, love them, honor them. They didn't mean it. They only love you as much as they could possibly love you, as much as they were shown love. And I had this understanding. It's and I know so many people have so many problems with their parents. I believe that's the number one problem for everybody. And you know, we have to show compassion, because people could only love you to the extent that they were shown love. So if they grew up in a messed up household, you know, how can you expect them to love you the way you probably want to be loved and deserve to be loved, if they don't know any better? So I shouted that out, and as I shouted that out, this guy Christian comes to me, who's like an angel, voice of an angel, just one of those really good people. He was there as a helper. I think he was like a volunteer. He was cleaning people's vomit. He comes to me, he's like, hey, are you okay? And then all of a sudden, like immediately my ego kicks in. Oh, no, 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 don't worry, I'm fine. I'm good. Because he thought that maybe I was like acting crazy or whatever, but I just wanted to give that message to everybody. And then I was like, as I caught myself in that ego moment, I was like, you know what? I know you just came here to check on me. You were just doing it. I was like, I appreciate it, brother. Like sometimes it's just this knowledge that you get. It's like, and that's what we need to do all the time in life, is like check your ego. When you're reactive, whoa, 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 embrace. And, I mentioned about my highest self, right? What does this all have to do with the highest self? Obviously, having visions of myself in a magazine, that makes sense, right? But also the highest self was checking your ego. And it's funny because ayahuasca works in a crazy way where everything's like a contradiction. Now, later to find out everything's like duality. So one of the things I was battling with, and I'm sure a lot of people could relate, like how many times are we in situations, let's say we see a cute girl and we want to talk to them, the mind's like, oh, she's probably got a boyfriend or something. Or you have a good business, you're like, oh, probably you won't be able to raise money. Whatever the case may be, it's like the mind puts a barrier on us. And that's one of the things I was battling through, because there was another situation where a girl was like screaming in the bathroom, because you're dealing with your demons. Like, this stuff is not easy. You have to deal with your demons. And then I felt called to help her, right? And then I was battling through my mind. I was like, no, no, no. They said, nobody move, stay in your place, don't talk to anybody, don't help anybody, because it's a very personal thing. And I was like, oh, but I felt drawn to go help her, right? And then I I said, you know what? I'm gonna go do it. Because so many times in my life, like, I wanted to do something, I didn't. I let the mind stop me. I was like, I'm not letting the mind stop me now. So I go, and then I knock, I think. I'm not sure, but I'm like standing in front of the door like a weirdo. Everybody's laying down, and I'm just uh, like battling within. And luckily, somebody, I feel like, came to save me. They're like, hey, you need to go back. And here's the thing. I was proud of myself because I didn't let the mind stop me. I did what I need to do. And then when the person came to me, I was like, I let it go, right? I wasn't like, no, no, I'm just trying to help. No, I let it go. And that's what I'm saying. Ayahuasca, it's like it's like balance, right? It's not letting the mind hold you back, but also what I realized is that I needed to control my impulses. And this was one of the lessons that I learned. It's First of all, you can't help everybody. Like, I just felt inclined to want to help everybody. First of all, they have to be receptive for your help. They have to ask for your help. You can't just go around helping everybody and this. And the other thing was that before you help anybody, you have to first heal yourself. And that was so profound to me. I didn't realize that I had all these blocks in my heart. That the reason I was stuck, the reason that I couldn't reach my highest self, was because I needed to heal. I did not heal. I did not properly grieve my mom. I let my mind hold me back. And I didn't realize I had all this love to give, you know? I didn't want a family because I didn't think it was possible. I didn't want to get married because I didn't think it was possible. But deep down inside, I wanted that. And the ayahuasca shows you all that was buried. There was so much buried. And I just grew an appreciation for everybody. It's like I fell in love with everybody, not in a romantic way, but I appreciated women for who they are, not just looking at them as sexual objects. And even people I had judged when I first got to the retreat, I was like, oh, this guy looks like an asshole. This guy. It's like I was totally wrong about them, because when you strip people of that ego and you see their pure essence, you see the God in them, you have there's nothing left but love. And we're all mirrors of each other, all of us. We are here to learn from one another, and if we're triggered by somebody, take it as a lesson. That's something that you need to heal. And if you don't like something about somebody else, it's because it's probably something that they remind you that you don't like about yourself. So many lessons learned. If anybody is looking to take ayahuasca, I would definitely be careful. Do your research. Um, Even reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to recommend where to go. But it's definitely, uh, arguably, the most profound experience in my life. If you found this informative, entertaining, I hope you give me a follow. I respond to all comments, and God bless.